Hey guys, PonylionHD here. Today I'm going to be talking about the new game mode called Turning Point that came out with the new Battle of Jakku DLC. Now the DLC is not officially out yet. I am playing the version that came with the pre-order where you get to play 7 days early. I'm going to be making this video specifically about how to win as Imperials while playing Turning Point. Now, the first thing we're going to be talking about is your card setup. It's very important because you need to realize how this map is played. It's very open. You got to use the environment to your advantage. To start with, I use the bowcaster, and the reason being is because explosives aren't really what they used to be. They nerfed them a little bit, which is a good thing. The bowcaster is good for taking 1 to 2 enemies out at a time and allowing you to be able to take the other side of the fight. So with that, the most important part for me when using a bowcaster is using the jump pack, because the best damage dealt with the bowcaster is when you're dealing damage on the ground as splash damage, not when you're trying to shoot horizontally and hit enemies. It doesn't work that way. Now, as I said, this is an open map, so you gotta be wary of 2 things. You gotta be wary of the pulse rifle and the homing shot. And then lastly, I use shield, and I use a gun such as the E11. When starting around a turning point as Imperials, the best way to start off is by doing a sneak attack on the rebels. What I've noticed so far is that the enemies tend to attack the right point more than any other point as the game begins. I believe this is the case because the middle point is exposed to too many angles, and the left point happens to be too far away from the spawn. As you can see, there's been multiple homing shots shot at me, and that's why it's important to use cover to your advantage. Don't bite off more than you can chew, and continue to keep moving around so the enemy is incapable of flanking you. Now, the third perk I didn't talk too much about was the shield, and the reason I have this is just in case you end up getting yourself in a sticky situation. As you can see right now, it's a good way to back off and regroup yourself. Another important topic that I didn't really cover in depth is the gun that I chose. The reason why I chose the E11 is because I find it to be the best all-around weapon in the game. There's situations within this game mode where you'll be in close quarter combat, mid-range, and long range, and I happen to find that the E11 can perform well in all those scenarios. The gameplay that I'm showing happens to be cut around a few different points within the game, and I'm doing that so that you don't have to put up with too long of a video, but while you're still being able to see the main points that I have about how to play the game mode. Now for me, I believe that the best idea when playing Turning Point as Imperials and you're defending is that you need to be more aggressive. You need to push up. You can't sit too far back, because if you allow the enemies to push up, it's going to be really difficult to get them off the point once they're on. My motto in this game mode as Imperials is to have an aggressive defense. If you're not familiar with how Turning Point actually works as a game mode, if you're familiar with the Battlefield franchise, it's very similar to Rush. Now, the whole point of the game is for the rebels to push up and grab at least 1 point. All they need to do is get 1 point to advance to the next section, and there's 4 different sections for them to be able to win. At this point in the game, they have already pushed up past 2 points. Now, for the first set, there's 3 points that the enemy can hit. For the second wave, there is 2 points they can hit. For the third wave, there's 2 points, and for the last wave, there's only 1. Now, a big difference between Rush and Turning Point is time versus ticket based. In Rush and Battlefield, every single time a person died, it counted as a ticket taken off from the attackers. But in Turning Point, it's a time-based game mode. That's why it's very important to hold the enemies off for as long as possible at each wave, because what ends up happening is that if an enemy is able to successfully get past the first set of points with almost no time off the clock, then they're going to have additional time to be able to get the later points. It doesn't reset each time. So it's very important to have a good defense from the very beginning of the game, because it can have a very big impact later on. It's important for the defenders to be able to choose which points they need to hold and whether they need to take a precedent on one or the other. For me, I take the stance of being adaptable. I like to be able to move around to be able to see where the enemies are coming from and be able to move when needed. As you can tell, I was on the left side point. This is when there's only 2 points left, and I am moving from the left to the right because I noticed that's what's happened to be taken at the time. This game mode is all about being able to make the right choices when needed. If you notice that your point is getting hit by a lot of enemies at once, you should definitely shift some of your defenders over to try to stop that wave. Now, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, though, and the reason I say that is because if you happen to move all your defenders over to one side to stop the advancement from that point, you need to remember that the enemies will then be able to move up to your other point that you just left exposed. So that's why you'll see me moving back and forth when need be. I would say that adaptability is one of the most important aspects to being able to play this game mode as a defender. Throughout the video, you'll notice that I use my star cards just about every time they're available, all for the exception of the shield, and that's just because you actually have a limited amount of shields that you can use. So for me, as soon as a bowcaster becomes available with the jump pack, I utilize it. It's the best way to hold the enemies back. And remember, the best damage that is dealt with the bowcaster is when dealing splash damage, not when trying to shoot horizontal. One thing that I left out that is important for Imperials to utilize to be able to hold the rebels off is, of course, the ATST. Now, you won't see me use the ATST in this video, and I don't tend to use it that often because I feel that I'm more effective on the ground as infantry, but if the Imperials do have a good operator in the ATST, it is very, very effective at holding the rebels back, especially if they're using cover to their advantage to avoid ion torpedoes and other rockets. With that, I feel that I've succeeded in covering the most important elements to be able to win as Imperials in Turning Point. I'm going to let you guys enjoy the last stretch of the round. I hope you guys find the information useful, and I hope to see you on the Battlefront soon.